Children have these imaginary friends when they are growing up. Uh, and I think Muslims have this imaginary friend called the Ummah. This friend may be good to talk about, but never really shows up when you need him. Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. This is an organization of all those countries which are Muslim majority countries, 57 of them. I'm going to talk about the collective potential of this organization. How much power do they have? What is the size of their economy, what is the size of their population, what are their resources. And imagine this situation that if there were a unit rather than 57 different countries, how much power they would be able to wield in the international arena on the global stage in comparison to the US, to Europe, to China, and to India, the other rising powers. We are talking of an emerging multipolar world, and I want to ask the question, will OIC be one of those poles, one of those powers which shares governance with the rest of the major powers in a multipolar world? So what I intend to do basically is do simply number crunching. I will show you populations, military strength, GDP per capita, look at some developments, and make some observations. And the context for this is obvious. A month and a half ago, India and Pakistan had an exchange for about 100 hours. And in that exchange, one of the criticisms that has come out in India towards the Indian foreign policy was that in spite of all the diplomacy that India has conducted in the past 10 years, no one really came out there and supported India's position vociferously. No one came out there and provided aid, whereas Pakistan did manage to get support directly from China, one of the two major powers, and also from Turkey and Azerbaijan. So at least there were three countries which stood with China. Two of them are members of OIC, and the OIC did issue a statement supporting Pakistan, but there was a lot of criticism that India did not get any support because India is against alignments and therefore it has no allies. But now, when you see how Israel is attacking Iran, not just alone, but with tremendous defensive support from the United States, Donald Trump is already using the word we, saying we dominate Iranian skies. Clearly, all the weapons that Israel is using are made in America, designed in America, exported to Israel, in fact, funded also by the US. So it's US money, US technology, US weapons which are dominating Iran. But where is the OIC? What support is Iran getting from its so-called Muslim brethren? Even though the Saudi crown prince, in his condemnation of Israel, referred to Iran as a brotherly country, what are brothers of Iran doing for Iran? The answer at the moment is nothing. In October and April of 2024, when Iran actually attacked Israel, at that time, Muslim countries actually supported Israel and defended it, especially Jordan. So the question really is the Muslim world completely helpless, or does it have no capacity or capability? And if it does, then why aren't they supporting Iran? So I will answer those questions, but before that, I want to share some basic data to give you an idea of the comparative power and relative power of the Muslim world. Now, you must remember that there are two Muslim worlds. One is Muslims as majorities, which are in about 57 countries who constitute OIC. Then there are Muslims who are minorities. For example, there are over 200 million Muslims in India, constitute about 15% of India's population. In Israel alone, there are 20% of the Israeli population is Muslim. There is close to 1 million or more Muslims who are citizens of Israel itself, in the United States, in Europe, in China, in Russia. All over the world, there are probably more than 200 million, or close to anywhere between 100 and 200 million Muslims who live as minorities. So that world obviously is not sovereign and cannot act. So anyway, let's look at this chart. This is a comparison of the OIC with USA, European Union, China, and India. And I'm comparing them on total GDP, total population, military size, and then I have also used, given you what the average human development index is for these countries to give you an idea, and also the GDP per capita, so you get an idea of how well developed or underdeveloped these countries are. So if you look at the United States, its total GDP is about $29 trillion. European Union is $19 trillion. China is 18 and a half. European Union and China both are about $18.5 trillion. The OIC countries are $12.8 trillion, and India is 3.9. It will be 4.2 by the end of this year. So if you look at the GDP, if they're not far behind Europe or China, they are about 66% of the economic strength of these countries. But if you look at the population, my God, there are 2 billion people in OIC countries, clearly 1.5 times bigger than China and India, and many, many times bigger than European Union, which is just 500 million, so about clearly 4 times bigger, or four little more than 4 times bigger than European Union, and clearly 6 to 7 times bigger than the United States in terms of population. If you look at the military size, it is enormous. The size of OIC countries, the number of soldiers in the militaries of the Muslim countries is 8.5 million. That's probably more than the population of many European countries as well as Muslim countries like Lebanon, Kuwait, etc. So there are many large armies in the Muslim world: Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, etc. But if you look at the development, they are slightly more developed than India if you look at the Human Development Index, but they clearly lag behind China, Europe, and the United States, which has the highest HDI in this chart. But if you look at the per capita, you can see that the Muslim world is poor. It is only richer than India. It's like South Africa. In fact, even the entire, collectively speaking, that the Muslim world is even poorer than other BRIC countries. And so, yes, it is probably 2.5 times, 3 times richer than India, because the Muslim world is very diverse. There are countries there with close to 100,000 per capita, which is small countries like Qatar. And then there are really poor countries like Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, which have less than $2,000 per capita income. So the average turns out that it is just about $6,200. If you look at this, I decided to put this data in terms of bar chart, so you can see visually how potentially powerful a united Muslim world can be. So if you look at the OIC in terms of just population, it stands tall above all. I mean, if you even stack up the entire West together, Europe and the US, this is NATO, you will see that OIC is probably more than double of that. More than double. US and Europe will be about 800 million people. And of course, even China and India are smaller in size than OIC. If you look at the total GDP comparison, clearly the United States is the biggest economy, close to $30 trillion at $29 trillion. Europe and China are comparable, and OIC is not far behind. It is at $12.5 trillion. It's 3 times bigger than the Indian GDP, and India is the fourth biggest economy in the world. So if you were to treat OIC as one country, and European Union as one country, then these will be the top 5 economies in the world. So this is how it would be. And so you can see that there is a lot of financial resources available to the Muslim majority countries. Military size in comparison, this is where the stunning part comes as to how big a military the OIC has in comparison to USA, Europe, China, or even India. I mean, of course, you can raise questions about the quality of the military, and I'm also wondering, whether this also includes security forces because militaries in most of the Muslim countries are also focused on domestic security. They are actually more threatening to their own population than anybody else. So you do have a large military force in the Muslim world. Like even here, the Iranian army is pretty big, many times bigger than the Israeli army, but there is a problem of quality. So Muslims have quantity but not quality. So that is an entirely different discussion. I will have it one of these days on investments in science and research, in good governance, in better management, etc. Because all of those things increase the quality of your security and your defense systems and your military and its performance. This is the average human development index. That's one of the reasons why you can say there is a qualitative difference between the Muslim world and the rest of the major powers. And so clearly you can see that the quality of life in Europe and US is far, far better than the average life in OIC because some of the countries in the Muslim world are huge populations with very low quality of life. Yemen, Pakistan, Bangladesh, some of the African countries like Sudan, they are in a mess in the civil war in Sudan. Internal genocides, and not just one, several. First in Darfur, now again what's happening in Sudan, as you all know. So yes, in spite of an economy which is over $12 trillion, the Human Development Index is very low, and this is, I think, where countries should focus their attention and concentrate rather than building military. So if the Muslim world can spend less on military, improve its quality, and invest more on the Human Development Index, they will be more powerful and also perhaps more capable of collaborating and cooperating with each other with a more developed citizenry. And then if you look at the GDP per capita, as I said, OIC is about $6,000. So there is no comparison between OIC and the West. They are way, way rich. The average per capita GDP is $40,000 of Europe, and the US is close to 85. Actually, it's 89,000 this year. India remains obviously a very poor country with less than, it's about $2,800 per capita. Yeah. So this is with regards to comparison with major powers. But if you look at OIC's comparison with Israel, it is stunning. It's just absolutely stunning. So here you can see the data. So the total GDP of OIC is $12.8 trillion, and Israel is just $500 billion. So the Muslim world is 24 times richer than Israel. The population is just enormous. It is 200 times more in population than Israel. The military size, it's 50 times bigger than the Israeli military. Israel obviously is a far, far more developed society with a human development index of 0.9, whereas the Muslim average is 0.6. There are Muslim countries with very high human development index, especially the oil-rich Gulf countries like UAE, Qatar, and Oman have a very high HDI. But most other Muslim countries have very low human development index, and they bring the average down. And you can see in terms of per capita income, Israel is far, far a richer country at $55,000. And the Muslim world, because of the large number of poor countries from Africa and Asia, its average per capita income comes down to $6,000. So you can say that Israel is a high income economy, and the entire Muslim world collectively is upper middle income economy. That's what it is according to the World Bank classification. But the point that I wanted to make here is that the Muslim world is not without resources. The Muslim world is indeed capable of of being a major force in world politics. It is the clearly the fourth biggest economy in the world, actually three times bigger than India. So if you add up Germany, which is at the moment the third biggest economy, Japan, and India, the third, fourth, and fifth biggest economies. If you add them all, they will be of the same size as the Muslim world, around 12 plus trillion dollars. So the Muslim world has the money, it has the resources, it also has a military force, but its inability to work together, inability to cooperate, and that requires good governance, better governments, sophisticated way of thinking about international relations. In most of the Muslim world, the go-to analytical model is conspiracy theories. It's always conspiracy theories. And I find it amazingly amusing as to how imams and educated Muslims jump on conspiracy theories and they think they are brilliant because they are subscribing to conspiracy theories. It is just astonishing when I listen to sometimes even professors subscribing to conspiracy theories. So there is their inability to understand how international relations work is one of the reasons why they cannot generate cooperation across nations. And in order to develop, well, that's why most of these Muslim countries, which are even very powerful, are client states. If you look at United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, and Pakistan, these are powerful countries with large populations, close to 100 million, except for the Gulf countries. Obviously, the Gulf countries have trillions of dollars available to them. President Trump decides to go to the Gulf for as his first foreign visit after becoming president of the United States for the second time. But they're all client states. They are not sovereign, independent powers. Even Turkey, with all its things, is part of NATO and is essentially, in many cases, acting subordinate, like Turkey's role in the uh, Russia-Ukraine war. You can see how Turkey is struggling to remain in NATO and be part of the West and also try to be independent and exercise some strategic autonomy. Pakistan, the most powerful Muslim country on paper with nuclear weapons, is just a client state of two powerful countries. Sometimes it subordinates itself to China, and sometimes it subordinates itself to the US. Today, apparently, Asim Munir, the general who also is the de facto ruler of Pakistan, is meeting with Donald Trump. They are thrilled that they're getting a meeting. I would love to know whether he will raise this issue of Trump's joining Iran. Will he have the courage to make an argument to persuade Donald Trump to push for a ceasefire rather than demanding unconditional surrender of Iran, which he's not going to get, by the way. So anyway, so these are some of the points that I wanted to raise that as long as the Muslim world remains divided, remains uneducated in many ways, subscribing to conspiracy theories, fake, and one of the I think the biggest problems in the Muslim world is their pretense that they are Islamic or they pretend that there is such a thing as Muslim solidarity, etc. When all these countries, sometimes or often, the governments of these countries do not even take decisions which are in the national interest of their country. They are more interested in regime protection. They just want to continue their own governance over their own people. So most of their foreign and domestic policies, their development policies, are all geared towards just staying in power and then transferring power to their children. So I just wanted to raise this issue because I got lots of questions from viewers about why no one is coming to help Iran, why there is, with all the talk of Muslim solidarity and Ummah, etc., this is missing. It's completely invisible in the world. I think, when children have these imaginary friends when they are growing up, uh, and I think Muslims have this imaginary friend called the Ummah. This friend may be good to talk about, but never really shows up when you need him. So thank you for watching Conversations. I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. And if you have not already subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel, like this video, press the bell icon, and do share this with your social political network. Until next time, I'm your host. Take care.